Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Synergy's ePanel webinar. We are what? We are at the on the 13th week of the quarantine period, right? And this is our fourth edition of our webinar. I'm Jermaine Reyes, and I'm the CEO and President of Synergy Market Research plus Strategic Consultancy. And I will be your host and moderator for this webinar. In the past three webinars, we tackled the changing consumer behavior, attitudes, and mindsets during this quarantine period. The changing behavior also includes the changing media landscape, and of course, brought about by the changing consumption habits of our consumers. And as we probably all know, moving towards being this is moving towards being more digital. Our webinar series, starting from our second, explored the how to's so that brands and businesses built through the years will still remain relevant during this hashtag business not usual days. Thus, in our second webinar last early May, we focused on how to harness social listening during social distancing as a way to understand our customers. And this is through the use of free social listening tools, from the free softwares to the more sophisticated ones that utilize AI and intuitive reporting as well as insighting, which is like the one provided by Digimind. We also know that brands are looking for ways to meaningfully connect with their customers. Thus, our third webinar focused on the topic building meaningful brands through consumer insighting. And now, we are moving ahead with understanding how to reach and activate engagement with our customers through today's discussion of media and content opportunities and challenges. As we mentioned in our last webinar, we are now in MECQ here in Metro Manila and other parts of the country. But even in this phase, not all businesses have really gone back to their pre-COVID situation. And we are still facing certain and many uncertainties. And as we figure out how to engage our customers, we also need to factor in how we intend to use the various media platforms available. Some questions while we are reflecting on this webinar's purpose are as follows, no? What will be the role of the various media platforms now? And what are their interrelationships and what is the prognosis for the future? What are the media challenges and opportunities? This is especially a hard question to ask about traditional media, even because even they are pivoting so what can we expect from them, and therefore how can brands harness how to use traditional versus digital platforms? What is the silver lining? Is there any? Will the way media platforms curate their content be a key differentiator across platforms? What is the role of creating and curating content across media platforms, and how can companies choose from these platforms? And now also from an altruistic standpoint, where can media be of help so that our country will move forward? As Jackson Katz, who is an internationally acclaimed speaker, said, and I quote, media play a powerful role in establishing and perpetuating social norms. With a pandemic that happened, is media going to play an even bigger role in people's lives and the industry's digital transformation, and not just forming social norms? These and many more will be tackled in this webinar, and let's have a conversation with the experts in Synergy's ePanel that focuses on media and content insights. You know, folks, this is a really difficult topic. As I was contemplating on the discussions that I had with our esteemed panelists, I realized that we will be tackling the transforming media landscape and how the various media companies are also transforming their own operations and businesses. And on top of that, there's a layer, that's a layer that we will be discussing, as well as how will brands need to harness all of these changes that are happening in the landscape, media companies, the landscape, plus also how do companies therefore connect with their customers who are also changing in themselves. So as you listen in this conversation that we will have, please think along those lines. The changing media companies, operations businesses, how are they are transforming, the consumer behavior changes in relation to their media consumption habits and practices, as well as our hat as brand and marketeers. How do we now navigate through all of these changes? So before I introduce our esteemed panel of experts, I would like to thank our partners who have made this ePanel webinar possible. Big thanks to Futureproof. Please give them a round of applause. Yay. Who has been our co-presenter ever since day one of this ePanel webinar series. Futureproof, Futureproof has been the partner of Synergy since we first also launched the conference version of our seminar series entitled Consumer Insighting and Storytelling Conference. And Futureproof innovates learning experiences such as this webinar of Synergy, and they're behind the Alpha Mentorship Program, as well as Digicon. We also would like to thank our media partners who have been loyal supporters of Synergy's events. Thank you to Philippine Star and to Business World, to Lucien Ditioco, of course, Jay Sarmiento, Criza Dialina Cao, and Dindy Sandiam. And also big thanks to Marketing in Asia, or MIA, Jen Cahuco, for the continued support. Also, a big thanks to our association partners, comprised of IMAP, the Philippine Marketing Association and PMA, and PANA. Thank you for the support for this webinar. So our panelists today are leaders in media. And for my calculation, okay, if you add the total years across them, we could probably be talking about over 80 years, right, of collective experience in this field. So please help me welcome our panelists today, starting from Mr. Anat Ronald or Anat Roldan, who is the president and CEO of AdSpark. Anat, hi Anat, which is a Globe 917 Ventures. AdSpark Incorporated is a digital media company owned by Globe Telecom. Anat has over 25 years in the field of marketing communications. And after graduating from the Ateneo de Manila University, Anat started out in the creative business, being part of Great Wall Advertising, handling a diverse range of brands. He remained in the creative field, climbing the ranks and gaining experience with respected multinational agencies such as AMA, DDB Needham, PAC BBDO, and by the way, I also came from PAC BBDO, yes, and McCann Erickson. BBDO then called him up at the time when they wanted to launch Proximity, their digital agency. Afterwards, he joined J. Walter Thompson Philippines, or JWT Philippines, and then A. Sachi and Sachi to help grow their businesses by setting up the non-traditional business units that handled activation, digital, and PR. His next endeavor was to establish Chill Philippines, which handled the marketing services needs of Samsung. Then moved to Y&R Philippines, where he was tasked to lead the agency's digital transformation. If you check the profile of Onat in LinkedIn, okay, you will see that he's a business transformation professional. His tenet is that scalable and sustainable success narratives are the result of data-driven spontaneity that create heartfelt consumer engagements. I love that, Onat. Yes. And also, we are fortunate to have with us someone who provides constant support on Synergy events since 2016. Please help me welcome Mr. Lucien Ditioco. Hi, Lucien. Hi, Lucien.
Hello.
Lucien is currently the
Hi.
executive vice president of Philstar Media Group, and Lucien heads the sales and marketing of the Philippine Star, Business World, Filipino Star Ngayon, Freeman, Banat, and PM. He also oversees the Star's multimedia platforms, Philstar TV, Philstar Digital, Philstar Outdoor, and Philstar Social. Under his leadership, the Star has transformed its brand of content creation through its one-star experience in its various multimedia platforms, thus generating a seamless content ecosystem. His mindset is always in pursuit of excellence with a relentless passion for innovation, always seeking the unique competitive edge in anything he sets his heart and mind on. With over many years of experience, he did not disclose, but sinama ko na doon sa 80 years total, okay, in the media marketing industry. Lucien is also the 2020 president of the Philippine Marketing Association. Last but certainly not the least is Mr. Michael De Castro. Unfortunately, Mickey couldn't make it today, but he has been so nice to have his presentation recorded for us. And I was fortunate enough to chat with him after his presentation and have a conversation regarding this. And we will play that in a short while. But just to introduce Michael or Mickey, Vic is the president of the Media Specialists Association of the Philippines, or MSAP, for the years 2020 to 2021. He is currently the general manager of PhD Media Network and has over 25 years experience in the media advertising business. That is, he started from media research to media buying and planning to doing the business of media advertising and strategy. He has a strong business development background and has worked with some of the notable advertisers in the business. He is the general manager of PhD Media Network. PhD is a global communications planning and media buying agency network, and as part of the Omnicom Media Group, or OMG, PhD delivers smart strategic thinking and creative innovation for the world's leading brands. Miki is a graduate of BS Mathematics at the University of the East, and we were together in our past lives in an ad agency. So again, before we start, okay, Onat and Lucien, please help me welcome our audience today. Just a few guidelines so we make this webinar more interactive. As a webinar attendee, your microphones will be on mute by default. But if you get disconnected or any of our panelists get disconnected, please don't panic. Just go back and click on the link that we provided you. Okay. We encourage you to ask questions that are media related and what we will be discussing. So please use the Q&A button found at the bottom of your uh, Zoom dashboard. If you want to chat with us, use the chat function. Okay. Any questions? Please put it in the Q&A. Okay, so we have enabled the chat functionality so you can share your comments and your hi hellos to each one of us. So let's just test this. I saw someone saying hi from Binyan City. Hello. Maayong buntag. Hindi. Good afternoon. Hello from Santa Rosa. Yes. Someone from Cavite. Girly Sarmiento. Ronilo. Good afternoon to you. Pam Tendero. Yours is the best webinar series I have attended during the quarantine. So thank you, Pam. Send me your email so I can personally thank you naman. Yes. And then, good afternoon from Tarlac Province. Hello, Mary Jane. Anyone from abroad? Next Lideros, hi. Finally, I'll get to say hi to you. And from Pakistan, wow.
Wow.
Thank you for joining us here. Yes. Onat, somebody said hi to you. Okay. So now without further ado, here to give us, oh, sorry, before that, I'd like to, sorry ha, magpa-plug lang ako. Would like to take this opportunity to finally introduce and announced that Synergy is the official and exclusive Philippine partner of YouGov. And YouGov is an international research and data analytics group with a proprietary online community of over 8 million people worldwide. This further strengthens Synergy's portfolio of services that we can offer, especially during this business not usual times. So we'll provide more details of this exciting partnership in ensuing weeks. So without further ado, I'd like here to give us an idea of the media landscape and their prognosis of the future consumer media behavior. We will play the recording of the presentation of Mr. Michael De Castro.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Jermaine, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about a subject dear to my heart. Of course, it's about media consumption, media planning, and buying. So, with your topic of media and content insights moving forward, I'd like to share some behavioral changes that we see in terms of media consumption in this post-COVID-19 world. No, and thank you again. Thank you for this opportunity. I won't be able to join you live, but hopefully this would be an additional knowledge to all of you. No, in your planning your brands for your marketing efforts. For this balance here. So essentially, there's a changing media consumption habits during this crisis because over 90% of our consumers say that they're spending more time on in-home media activities. So what are these in-home media activities? So these are just, they're watching more TV broadcast channels, they're watching more video on demand or streaming services like Netflix. I'm sure lahat tayo biktima niyan, ano? And spending longer time on your social media feeds, watching more videos on YouTube, and of course, watching more news coverage. 72% of Filipinos today are watching more news coverage. No? So essentially, what platform are these? No? So the smartphone consumption, no, it continues to climb. Many are spending more time on this platform, showing that this device continues to be a significant beneficiary of an exposure, no? Because their devices used are mostly from smartphone, but some of them are on laptops, desktop, or even on smart TV. But essentially, more than 90% uses smartphones as a platform, no? And people are most likely to be turning and trusting to, updates to keep them informed about the outbreak, no? Using their social media feeds, using news websites, news channels on TV, and in terms of government updates, no? So essentially, the key platform here is smartphone, no? Aside from your free-to-air television, smartphone is the one that is more personal to the consumers and more source of information as we, use smartphone using online transactions or even, dealing with your communities. Marami tayong nakikita ngayon na observe na parang I felt now observe ko na there's an underground economy using smartphones, no? Diyan tayo namimili ng pamalengke or even yung mga community natin, may mga groups tayo na nagbebenta-benta ng kung ano-ano. So somehow, the smartphone becomes a multi-purpose device. No? Aside from entertainment, it becomes also a transactional platform. No? So essentially, that behavior is very evident right now in this COVID-19 world. Na-lessen yung use natin of other platforms, but ang nag-shine ngayon are the smartphone device. So making us, the Philippines, as one of the highest consumers of social media in terms of Facebook and Instagram. So we continue to climb usage of our social media accounts over starting March on its while we are on quarantine. No, you can see this is a worldwide trend, and you can see Philippines is one of the top countries, no, using social media. Facebook, number one tayo as usual, and then of course Instagram. I think we are on number 3 or 4 in terms of usage. And even after the pandemic, we feel that this behavior pattern will continue as we consumers are more likely to consume online, especially videos, and watching news will be an integral part of our everyday life. As you can see in terms of usage, watching more videos would still be a very big part of our daily life, and then together with spending more time on watching films or even streaming devices, diba? Yung exercising, I'm sure they felt guilty kaya mataas yan, but you can see ang pag-consume natin via our mobile device matataas, no? Yung streaming, news coverage, messaging services, no? Spending longer time on social media are higher as high as ever, no, in terms of usage. So this is somehow the behavioral pattern that I'd like to share with you, because this will definitely will not change or will not diminish in terms of as we plan our, let's say, marketing budgets, no, definitely it would be part of the mix as we plan in terms of brands or even, exposing your brand to the social media scene using mobile as a platform. So with this, I'd like to throw this question with your viewers. With these changes in media behavior, how can you as marketers continue to be part of their consumers' mind? No, in terms of you should plan. Aside from, because we believe that you don't have to expose your brand to one single platform, but it has to be omni-channel. So we just like to point out that one channel would be the smartphone platform, no? And then aside from other than that, well, the highest reach would be free to air TV, and then of course radio, and then hard copy print. So aside from those platforms, it has to be combined with another device, which is, I think, more relevant than ever, is the smartphone. As smartphones are more personal, and then these are always in our hands, and then we transact, we are exposed to this, to what we are using. So I think this could be an opportunity to be creative and to innovate using this kind of platform. So that's it. I think we can discuss this further with Jermaine and Lucien, and debate about it, know how to, to use this device. And then thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much, Mickey. I'm going to, I just wanted to summarize what I've heard you say, no? So smartphone, napaka-importante. It has boomed. In fact, like, I do remember that YouTube and Google have, in the past years, tried to reward those who are going to optimize their materials na smartphone, di ba? So they don't have to work harder these days, right?
Yes.
Because I think most of given what you have shared, I think most of the advertisers and marketers out there will definitely consider optimizing their materials using smartphones. So Google and YouTube don't need to work so hard to convince the advertisers. All right. And then my other
Become omnipresent na. I mean, hawak-hawak mo lagi yan eh, di ba?
right,
Parang,
right.
so,
Mm-mm.
yes,
Uh,
I agree with
um, I have a question, Mickey. Etong spending time socializing as a family, you showed in, I think, one of your slides, the various activities that are, uh, yeah. So after the
yeah.
pandemic, parang these
Mm-mm.
are what you see. So ito yung mahiwagang kristal, so to speak,
Mm-mm.
that you see will continue, no? I
Yeah.
see here news. Surprisingly, talagang I thought siguro mga around 4 years ago, when Google was trying to see the behavior of uh, of the people in social media and online, parang most of the topics Googled were entertainment yata, no? Or even in
Yes.
YouTube. But now, news has become integral in our daily lives, ano? Major,
Yes.
major, major, major. Oo.
And I think the consumers right now are trying to become to kumbaga discerning the news because of course there is proliferation of fake news, etc. But that's why watching more news coverage means that they are, funneling information, no? Parang
Mm-mm.
verifying if it's a correct information or not, diba? So I think
Mm-mm.
that's where the more news coverage comes in because, ang daming kumakalat dyan ng mga fake news. So I think
Mm-mm.
consumers right now are being careful and being, trying to discern if everything
Mm-mm.
is, true or not. And aside, and
Mm-mm.
you pointed out that in terms of socializing with your family and household, yes, I agree. I think if I know or you may have
What the?
observed that, especially now that since on average kasi five tayo in one household, 'di ba? So on average, 'di ba? So
Mm-mm.
somehow uh spending more time socializing means helping with the household, helping with
Okay.
economy, with kunwari magluluto-luto, magbebenta-benta, so source of like yung parang yun ang kanilang sources of socializing and sources of,
Mm-mm.
parang bonding, no, with your
Right.
parents and with your siblings, 'di ba?
Mm-mm.
So
Mm-mm.
I think more than ever, yon importante na sa kanila yon yung nandoon sila safe and sound with their family and yet helping with the family.
I think this chart that you have here provides also a major indication on the various content that marketeers can hone or harness, right?
Yes.
These days. Kasi yun na nga, nandyan ang news, nandyan ang entertainment, but nandyan din yung various activities done at home to bond with family. So I think that will form part of yung mga content, either that what they plan to generate and or the mix of messages that they can
Yes.
use when they do their advertising,
Yes.
right?
Mga
Mm,
themes in order to
mga
to
themes,
target
yes.
this
Commun-
consumer.
commun- communication, nandyan din, right? Now, ito yung isa pang mahiwagang kristal na tanong ko, Nikki. Paano na nga ba, I think based on your other slide, you also mentioned that there needs to be, hindi lang naman digital ang nakikita natin that should be utilized. Parang narinig ko sa iyo would be, there should be complementing use
Yes.
of
Yes.
other platforms. Can you
Yes.
elaborate more on that? It
I
strengthens
think
the messaging ba? Or
yes, to
paano ba yan?
strengthen the messaging essentially. Well, I think in media planning, you don't have to be exposed to just one platform, no? It has to be,
Mm-mm.
you have to be omnipresent in essentially, of course, for big budget advertisers, essentially in all kinds of platforms, diba?
Right,
But if
right.
you are, if you are just a parang startup, no? I think you have to be present in at least two platforms, no? And then you decide which ones would be relevant to you. Well, one of those relevant platforms would be online. No, online kasi has many parang sub-platform yan, di ba? Smartphone, yung mga search, and then yung So, marami kang pwedeng exposure, no? Well, if you can afford television, why not, di ba? Because it has the widest reach coverage among all the platforms, no? But I think if you, as I've said, if you're a startup, then you can start, no, spending your efforts on digital online via smartphone, and in order for you to be exposed, no, of your services and your brands.
So essentially, even during this pandemic, it's not just digital that
Yes.
we should consider to strengthen our message and to strengthen our ability to reach our customers. We need to, as you said, the magic number is two, at least two types of platforms. We should consider that. Now it's all up to probably ano magiging basis nila, if you can just give an advice, ano yung mga magiging basis nila sa pagpili ng platform to use. If
I think
you can
I think it depends on their audiences, no? For example, if their audiences affinity to, let's say, reading newspapers, no? And then ang combination mo dyan, newspaper and your online presence, di ba? And then kung ang affinity naman ng audience nila is watching entertainment, no, on free television, then you use TV and then you use your online. So those kinds of so we have to study your consumers behavior, using, of course, syempre makukuha naman natin yan sa mga softwares natin, di ba? But in your own surveys or in your own research studies, di ba, you can say that which platforms are more important to you, di ba, to use. But as I've said, my suggestion is to at least use two, no? Parang complementary nga na yung isa is using, let's say, online, and then yung isa naman is using an offline channel. So it's a combination of the two that reaches the greatest, coverage, no?
Okay. So yan yung mga advice ni Mr. Michael De Castro. May isa pa akong tanong kung pwede, Michael.
Sure.
If ever, there's a question always na, do I need to wait until the pandemic is done before I start advertising or before I start investing in media? What's your take on that?
Dapat nga you should be investing now, no? I mean, even in this while we're still in GCQ na, di ba? I think you should be starting to invest now in order for you to, kasi dapat ang messaging mo ngayon has to be authentic and concerned for the, for the community. So I think that's that has to be your first message, that you are here for these people, you're here
still alive.
You're still alive, di ba? Parang dapat paramdam mo sa consumers that you are supporting them, and you're supporting the economy, of course, di ba? Parang and all that. So I think we should not wait until the pandemic subsides, but I think investing right now will make the consumers love you more, 'di ba? Kasi habang we're all suffering and you're here for us. Parang ganun yung
our last webinar.
So to speak.
Go back to your brand purpose and see how your purpose aligns with the needs of the customers right now. Ayan! Wow! Thank you so much. we wish you well in yung endeavors ninyo. And sayang, but thank you for this opportunity for us to pre-record this. I'm pretty sure our audience will learn a lot from this part that you have provided to them. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael De Castro
May,
from... Yes, yeah. Yes po.
nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. Ay, nako, I love ko to si Mickey kasi we were together in an advertising company before. Nung bata-bata pa kami. Pero hindi nagbago si Mickey, ganun pa din eh. So anyway, thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you so much, Mickey. Thanks for being with us. Yes, thank
Hello.
you so much. I hope you were able to... That was pre-recorded. I was fortunate enough to be able to chat with Mickey. May I have Mr. Onat and Mr. Lucien turn on their video? So that was the presentation of Mickey. Ang daldal namin nag-usap-usap kami on ano pa yung mga mahiwagang kristal. But seriously, I just would like to know your reactions to whatever he shared, any builds you have. If we may have some words from each of you before we move on to the next talk. Who would like to...
I go first. Well, I agree with Mickey. I think one of the things he raised was about being omnipresent. Using different channels in reaching your consumers. Of course, I'm partial to digital because that's my line. But yeah, it's really finding a good mix. Of course, it's a challenge nung GCQ. I'm sorry, nung ECQ, no? So everybody's stuck in their homes, wala naman nakakalabas. So, but it's really up now to the advertiser and to their agency on trying to figure out what works best. And yeah, I agree. It's not really understanding the consumers better. Go through the data. What is the data telling you? And invest wisely. And especially now in this pandemic, I think brands your consumers would really appreciate hearing from you. That's
yes. Mr. Lucien.
Ako naman, I think Mickey covered it all. So, webinar.
That ends our...
No, but I agree with Mickey's presentation very much. I'm glad that he was able to present a picture of how is the behavior of media consumption under the quarantine, and well, it's important to note that how the smartphone has become an essential in making things continue, whether you're at work or you're doing something else. And at home, the smart is the convenient device because it makes you multitask. But there are several opportunities also at home, and it's a challenge for media how we can be able to think of ways how to make the people inside their homes pick up a newspaper or watch television. Television obviously is the next best thing because it's suddenly it has become a point where when you're tired, of course you can't be on screen all the time, and having your own, just on your own time, you need to, nasa bahay lang kayo, so you need to interact with each other. So TV has become a bonding experience for families at home. And of course, it's a bigger screen. And I foresee that probably post ECQ, there would be a demand also for smart TVs. Since
smart TVs?
Yes, for smart TVs. A higher demand for smart TVs. Yung
Mahal.
Yung madaling ma-connect ng internet para mas malaki, mas maganda yung viewing ng crash landing, di ba? So conveniently you can do things at home. And what is presenting at this point is the experience that we had during the lockdown is giving us a glimpse on how the consumers have adapted to the quarantine lifestyle. And the lifestyle, I think, is kind of here to stay until a vaccine can readily be provided. So I think that's up to next year. So you can pretty much picture how much these things are going to stay.
A quick question before we go to Onat. From a content standpoint, you saw that slide of Mickey. Prior to COVID, ano yan, splintered ba yung, like, kasi di ba there's news, there's entertainment, definitely. Pero mas na-highlight ang news nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Entertainment, medyo nagpantay with news. And then the social bonding, the family bonding, rose these days, ano? So parang there's a shift in the types of media consumption activities that happened. And I think, is that a good thing, or so, ano ba? What can you say about that for brands? It's a good focus ba? Highly focused as against before?
Well, I think, for example, news is important now. Everybody wants to be updated, and you look for credible sources. So I think for brands, what comes to mind now is, now we're talking about content. Is the content that you put out in your own assets, are they properly curated? Are they real? Are they true and correct? So, and then entertainment. I think we're all stressed. We're all feeling the pain of this pandemic, and so it's the reassuring. It's reassuring one another. It's making you feel good, making you feel you're not empty. We've been hearing a lot about mental health, mental wellness, and I think, and entertainment is a good haven for them. And then of course
So
the bonding is, I have 3 kids. This is my, after a very long time, the only time we really get to bond like this is during Christmas break. There's sem breaks. Even weekends weren't like this, but we're enjoying. My wife and I are enjoying 11 weeks of just bonding with our 3 kiddos.
I'd like to pick up on your point regarding entertainment. Unlike before, pre-COVID, parang entertainment for entertainment's sake, as against now, it has to be meaningful entertainment, right? So in terms of the angle or the skew of entertainment content has to get aligned with what's the current mindset and the mental state of people right now, no? So yes, entertainment, but there's a different skew. Anything, Lucia, would you like to add as well?
I noticed most of the brands who are advertising has become more sensitive in their messaging. It's more relevant to the sentiments of how people are feeling. There's not one that I've encountered that is blatantly just selling their product, but it's a more well thought communication that brands have done, and so far they've been doing a good job out of it. Even Mother's Day, there was a number of brands that somehow resonates the kind of situation that we are in, celebrating Mother's Day, for example. So
ano kaya yung ibig sabihin?
Independence Day.
Ano kaya yung, Lucien? Are we empathetic as a nation? Okay, is that our empathy as a population is coming through this pandemic situation? Therefore, parang yun na nga, natutuwa ako that when you see the brand advertising out there, except for a few lang naman yata na parang medyo misaligned. Siguro hindi lang well-informed. But, you could see that the brand advertising out there are, medyo nakikita mo yung empathy, So it's bringing out the best in us.
I think
Would you say?
everyone's really up to date with their social listening. Diba? Especially now that netizens out there are really, really sensitive.
Lucien? Yes.
You really encounter a lot of people suddenly gets bashed because for saying something wrong, diba?
Yes, agree. So, naku, I would like to have a disclaimer to the audience. Baka mag-spill over tayo ng 1.5 hours, because talaga, as I mentioned earlier, we are talking about the media industry evolution, how the media companies are pivoting, a lot of stories out there. And then where we need to align that and link that with how brands should harness all of these. Plus also understand our consumers. So many to touch on. So I'd like to therefore move to our next speaker. Okay, from a media landscape perspective, which we saw earlier, we now move into getting a glimpse of the digital's role and the consumers. So what are the opportunities and potential challenges? Here to provide us with this perspective is Mr. Onat Roldan, the CEO and President of AdSpark. Take it away, Mr. Onat.
Thank you, Jermaine. And well, again, good afternoon to everyone. Let me share you my presentation so that you get a better understanding and appreciation of what we have to share. So I hope everyone can see my screen. Well, I guess I'd like to introduce our agency first. So we are AdSpark, and we are guided by our in-depth understanding of the Filipino digital audience. AdSpark is a full-service digital marketing agency that empowers brands to create digitally assisted human connections. Sorry. Sorry, I think there's... Let me try it once again.
It's all right, Anat.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'll just say hi to those who are coming from Pampanga. Si Joanna Cordero. Hi, Joanna. And then sabi ni Doris, Sir Mickey is right. Smartphone is used now widely, not just for entertainment, but a new platform or channel to do business and get updates on news, current events, economy. Talagang nag-proliferate na ang smartphone use sa ating bansa. And Doris goes on to say, a very strong tool for any marketeer. Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries. I'll turn off my mic now. For those of you who are asking whether the recording will be sent to you, the attendees here will have the opportunity to receive the recording of this session. Yes.
Okay, so let me start again. So can everybody see my screen? Sorry, I'm kulit.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you.
So like what I said, so we're AdSpark, and we have a robust portfolio of digital solutions and services. AdSpark Intelligence is our proprietary audience and brand intelligence service. AdSuite is our full stack of service portfolio, is our full stack service portfolio of digital media solutions, including quick win digital rewards and incentives for branded tactical efforts. Ad Studio is our ideation, creation, and production arm. And soon we will be launching the capability to deliver digital innovation in the OOH space. AdSpark Intelligence is our proprietary service that helps us paint a clearer picture of your audience. We check on a brand's health through our social listening capabilities, but listening is only half the battle, as we can also track audience content consumption habits. The fusion of these two capabilities, overlaid with third-party data sources, gives us a deeper understanding of consumer behavior. This integrated analytics is what enables us to deliver more robust insight capabilities and activate more efficient and effective media strategies. Part of our AdSpark Intelligence is our quarterly Thought Sparker report that provides different dimensions of the Filipino using sociocultural contexts. COVID-19 has challenged and changed all stereotypical consumer behaviors. The unparalleled shift offers marketers the opportunity to design new playbooks. Allow me to take you through our perspective. So, I'm proud to share with everyone who's in the webinar right now that you're getting first dibs on our latest AdSpark Thought Sparker. So, well, it's a long weekend, guys. So happy Independence Day to everybody. So, well, back in 1898, when the flag was first raised, the Philippines wasn't necessarily quote unquote free and independent, but we declared that we wanted to be. Moving now to today, the COVID-19 virus is wreaking havoc on the world. In the Philippines, the number of infected has reached 23,000 people. After 9 weeks of ECQ and 2 weeks of MECQ, we are now in GCQ. Some restrictions on the opening of stores, offices, transport, and general mobility of people have slightly lifted our collective hopes. Yet there is still fear. Once we were a touchy-feely people, now we are reduced by social distancing. There came a world of limitations as illustrated by this now common scene. 2.5 months of face masks, checkpoints, and curfews. So how did the Filipino handle these restrictions and live their life as best as they could given the current situation? Before, digital was a luxury. It was a want. Now, it is an essential to get by every day. With Filipinos forced to stay indoors due to the ECQ guidelines, the internet penetration has skyrocketed in the Philippines. Using AdSpark Intelligence, we took a look into how Filipinos adapted to the restrictions and how for many Filipinos, digital was their primary means to find normalcy because life goes on. And so I'll touch on 4 key areas that we discovered in our social listening, in our data consumption monitoring. So these are digital as an essential key to getting essentials, learning to cope by learning online, sweetening the time, and making work work. So let me take you through the first one, digital as an essential key to getting essentials. With the new restrictions from ECQ, getting essentials like food, vitamins, and medicines became significantly more difficult. Filipinos look to digital channels as alternatives to physically getting these essentials. During ECQ, food delivery and online grocer were among the most searched topics and queries in the food and health category. So it shouldn't be surprising to us that we've seen the rise of even informal selling means. Um, Viber communities have sprouted, direct messaging, using convenient cashless transactions like Gcash to facilitate what we have been actually taking for granted. So there has been a shift really in behavior, and digital has played a key part in it. Traditionally, face-to-face services like medical consultations have also made the shift to digital. One of our clients, Consulta MD, created relevant content that triggered an engagement rate 3.5 times higher than industry benchmark. Their e-consultations also achieved a reach of over 3 million since the ECQ. Health is so essential, especially at this time, that people needed to find ways to still get their loved ones checked. Newborn babies and their anxious parents, for example, need extra help. The second one is about learning to cope by learning online. E-learning or distance education was a struggle, but Filipinos tried to make the best out of the situation. Questions if teachers were capable of delivering the same quality education online as they did in person have been raised. Some netizens have also expressed how the students themselves have great difficulty learning online. I personally believe educators should learn from game developers on how to get students engaged with their screens. Yet for those who could have the means to find a way, they still try their best to make do with the situation. So we saw kids graduating, but a, ro a robot representing them. So it's interesting to find out how big was the increase in online purchases of laptops and tabloids during this ECQ, as we're all gearing up for the next school year. For sure, broadband subscriptions, both prepaid and postpaid, have also increased. E-learning was not exclusive for schools and students. Even working professionals took the time to learn more skills. In our consumption scans, it showed us that there were many other things Filipinos were learning, from web coding to even guitar lessons, which was the second most searched YouTube topic in the education category. Third is sweetening the time. It would be interesting to know from everyone here who has baked or cooked something new. Did you learn something? At the beginning of ECQ, food meant survival. Online conversations around food were initially about the difficulties of getting food delivery, and buying groceries. Actually, on a personal note, this ECQ provided the perfect reason for my wife to convince me to get her a freezer. However, as the ECQ went on, food was eventually seen as an escape. In the second month of the ECQ, Filipinos began to get used to their situation of limitations and restrictions. They gradually stopped looking at food as a means to avoid starvation and began to see it as an escape. Towards the end of ECQ, it was about sharing kitchen hacks, easy to cook recipes, and desserts. I know a lot of us, GCQ, we're now on GCQ, so some people have gone back to work, but a lot of us are still doing work from home. If digital is used for the common Filipino to work around restrictions, digital for businesses is used to survive. For some companies, they were able to still function with their workforce all at home using Zoom calls, pocket Wi-Fi, or even mobile data to accomplish tasks. So these are So, you know, for example, some businesses were more ready than others, but for most, if not all, there's no going back to having no online channel, regardless if you're a micro enterprise or a large company. Accessibility to online cashless transactions is a must. And for everyone's information, after TikTok, the second most downloaded app was Gcash. So those are the 4 key areas that I wanted to share with you. That's this is an abridged version of the Thought Sparker that we are launching tomorrow. So I guess let me end my presentation by, there are some ECQ positives for marketers to consider. First is harnessing the potential of the growing online consumer base. You have to build or clean up and activate your own database. That's the opportunity is there right now. The media shift to online is accelerating. So you have to consider your content, the analytics, and the programmatic that comes with it. And thirdly, digital transformation at the enterprise level is a must. COVID-19 is the wake-up call for that. So that, and you can get a copy of the Thought Sparker that we are launching, as well as the 6 others that we already released. You can just scan this QR code, and you can read more and learn more. So that's where we're at right now from an AdSpark perspective.
All right. Thank you so much, Anat, for that presentation. So what that tells me is that as a digital media company, you are constantly monitoring what's happening with the conversations that consumers are posting out there. So talagang iba yata yung mga conversations, syempre, prior to COVID, ano? And then during COVID, do you see that, for example, in the past 3 months that we have been, medyo mukha bang nag-evolve ang mga conversations? And then medyo may mahiwagang crystal ba tayo dyan na pwedeng sabihin na where do you think it's going to lead and which one is going to, lead more versus the other? Meron ba kayong medyo nakikita? Medyo we're talking about trends here, so baka you can share naman.
Yeah, well, when you say social listening, kasi, well, it's really, in today's landscape, it's very politicized. So, but you take that out.
Take it out.
Take it out. I think one important topic right now that's very relevant is really going back to school. Even regardless of what the DepEd said. You have parents figuring out how to make it work. You also have the schools talking amongst themselves on how they plan to make virtual learning effective. I think there's also the conversation, a lot of trends as well on hope. I think if there's one thing that's very interesting and it's very Filipino, it's still we're a hopeful society. We're always looking for that silver lining. We just express it differently. And sa social listening kasi, di ba, you have the machine learning, but you also have the manual. Kasi sometimes, the machine can't distinguish sarcasm. So, naka-context pa rin siya. So, those are the things that we've been hearing in our listening.
Mm-mm. You talk about the yes, Lucien, would you like to add to that? So merong education nga, no?
Yeah.
That's a conversation that's being that's happening right now.
Yeah, definitely that's one of the heated discussions right now. Trying if online learning will really be effective. But I think we also need to ask the students themselves if online learning is really going to be effective for them, even if they're so used to gadgets. It presents a different line of learning when it comes to the physical setup of trying to understand things, understand lessons. My son, for example, had a hard time trying to adjust to online learning simply because the question of participation, even for my college daughter, is having a hard time whether she should enroll with her major subjects. She's with multimedia in a multimedia course, and a lot of those need a lot of practical teachings rather than just being fed online. So many issues, and for me, I believe it should be a hybrid of all platforms to consider for us to be able to really think through what would be the next step for this school year, particularly.
Yeah, and we've also been seeing a lot about the conversations amongst parents about the gap year, because some parents are really ready to just forgo the school year and then life skills learning, in baking, music, learning a new musical instrument. And I think that's where now brands can come in and be able to provide a point of view and how they can remain relevant given all these questions that are actually trying to look for answers.
Or maybe it's a new branch of their business that they can develop, empowering the learning of siguro age appropriate learning, ano. Maybe that's something that brands can consider as an additional or incremental business arm or group in their company. So anything can happen. Sabi ko nga, ano bang mas worse? Ma-delay ng graduation, or yes, you graduate pero unemployed ka. So it's like between the devil and the deep blue sea. So I think I have here some questions which we can tackle muna in the meantime.
Yeah.
Sure.
On digital media consumption, while it is on the rise through the pandemic, did the audiences recall brands? Meron naman siguro, no? Nare-recall sila.
It's for example, the DOT. It's really, I guess, how your content. It's a two-way thing. It's your content and the media strategy behind it. That creates that engagement. For example, the that DOT campaign using the song. I think that was powerful, especially because tourism is down. But I think for me that's a very powerful message from that client, from the Department of Tourism about getting by, healing together as one, smiling as one, bouncing as one.
So meron naman natatandaan.
A lot of the brands actually should take advantage. There's now the opportunity to actually through e-commerce, really reaching out, engaging with the consumers directly. That's all these short-term goals, moving inventory. It's been on the rise, and I think for brands just need to figure out what they want to do in this pandemic, and I think you have to go back now to your brand essence. You have to go back to understanding your consumer and making sure your communication, your marketing answers a pain point right now.
Yeah. Ako, point of view ko, now is really the best time for you to be challenged as a brand, and think really how much you're relevant to the needs of the consumer right now in their present state. For brands, it's really it's kind of easy in the sense that there's a certain sense of behavior that's happened during the pandemic. It's um, community behavior as a whole. Suddenly, suppliers, for example, wanting to reach the consumers directly because there's no supply that they can go. They can distribute it to. They attempt to go straight to consumers, and particularly in the food suppliers of food suppliers are this is a good time for everyone to figure out how you can actually provide provide your products that would make sense in a lockdown home.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Yeah. So again, constantly monitoring what's being discussed out there so that brands can be agile in adapting to the needs of the customers, as well as what are the various themes being talked about. So at least your messaging can be aligned with that. No, there's a question here from Mr. Jason Luis, for Mr. Roldan, on your point of digital as essential to getting essentials. Do you think that as we move forward, it would be a friendly landscape for MSMEs or homegrown local brands? Or will big brands continue to dominate because of more ad spend resources?
Well, I think that now there's no playbook. What's very interesting about this situation we're at right now is there's no playbook. Um, it's a perfect opportunity for MSMEs to thrive. You now have, thanks to digital, you now have different channels on reaching your consumers. Um, like what I mentioned, kanina, the rise of Viber communities, and then on social media, it's really finding that right mix. You don't need, you know, you just need to be wise about your resources, and then use it accordingly. Of course, the big brands will continue to advertise. I think when big brands advertise, it's a good sign. It gives the collective a boost that the economy is on the right track. The MSMEs don't need to compete in that space. Yours is really your very niche group, niche market. So and just
Broad scale sila.
understanding your market, and it's the market is big enough for everyone naman.
Mm-hmm. Siguro as an example, I'd like to cite is from an SME. Tokyo Tempura is a tenant, is a restaurant that you see in SM. Suddenly, sarado lahat yung mga malls, right? Yeah. But they were able to pivot quick enough to sell directly to consumers their tempura mix. So it's presenting some sort of, the way they promoted it is, okay, if you want to do some bonding while preparing the tempura batter with your kids, that's a good way of really penetrating homes, to be part of the bonding experience. So parang you have to figure out how it could really fit into current quarantine lifestyle.
Essentially, I think if I were to summarize both of your responses, it's not about the amount of money that big companies have. It's probably more who is more agile, and the type of messaging that they will have, or that type of effort that will connect better with the customers, is more the name of the game. Mm. All right. Before we go through the other questions here, maybe we can have already the talk of Mr. Lucien. And from before that, I think we were able to flash the QR code for our evaluation. Okay. So at least please give us your inputs on how we can make our webinars better by answering our evaluation. Okay. And we will have the opportunity again to flash the QR code later. Yon. So moving on to Mr. Lucien's talk, here to provide us with some of the hard truths about media. Okay, the challenges, but also what could be the silver lining that awaits traditional media. This is the reason why we really invited Mr. Lucien. So I'd
Yes.
like to turn over the mic to Mr. Lucien Ditioco, EVP of Philstar Media Group and the current president of the Philippine Marketing Association. Take it away, Mr. Lucien.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mr. Onat.
Okay, so this is my presentation. It's media under the pandemic, particularly about traditional media, and we're so kawawa. So I'd like to start my slides with how the disruption has happened in media under the pandemic. Um, well, to begin with, we're now working under a skeleton editorial team. So, of course, because of the lockdown, not all reporters or even the sales team is able to go around where the action is. It certainly limited us in terms of coverage, and the coverage is mostly remote, and we had to you know coordinate everything from home, and it there's really a steep learning in terms of adapting to the lockdown setup. And outdoor production has stopped. Most of the media broadcasters and publishers really rely these days into outdoor production, and since video is really now part of the essential when we deliver news. And the pandemic actually has affected our distribution capacity as well. Of course, there are no flights, so we can't um, distribute our copies nationwide. Even if there are clamors, we get a lot of calls from our subscribers. It's really hard to go around the metro, even for the metro during the lockdown, in trying to distribute the copies. During the lockdown, our capacity for distribution was only at 30%. Now that we're partially under GCQ, not everything is still normal. We're distributing at 60% capacity. But the one that really hit us hard are the advertising revenues, particularly for traditional media. For print, actually, we've suffered a lot. We've been suffering a lot before COVID, actually, but it has worsened even more because most of the advertisers, particularly, has shifted their efforts to relief and to digital. And in the coming few months, it's really going to be a sort of a challenge because they won't be going back immediately in terms of regular spending. So as you can see that almost 70% will be spending less, and that's really going to be the challenge. As you know, that traditional media really depends on advertising as a means to operate normally. But what in terms of consumption during April, this is a global statistic. Globally, the shift really is consistent with the local setting. It's more of watching significantly on news coverage and then followed by entertainment through streaming services. And then more people are actually talking on Messenger. The conversations are as you know, like in this, you see a lot of Zoom as well. Discussions on meetings on Zoom, even like the Inuman sessions. That in terms of trying to find rekindling friendships or keeping in touch. There's also spending significantly on social media. And as I said earlier, there's a sudden comeback for TV as people are watching more on broadcast channels. But actually, right now, I'm really curious how TV viewing has been shut down since they shut down last April. We rely mainly on news. We know that, but I don't know how this has affected in terms of media consumption. So what we commonly recognize is digital right now is an essential. Before COVID, we regard digital as an enabler, complementing the way we spread news. But right now, it's really essential that all our coverages are uploaded on digital. Digital has become the main driver for businesses, consumer, and media. And for us, it's really a means to move forward. News sites and social pages has grown by leaps and bounds since the lockdown. And then it's the best option to communicate and transact, to keep it normal while safe at home. It's adapting to the quarantine lifestyle where work, family, passions are blended at home. Before COVID, we just see it as something that complements well with our business, but right now it's really a survival tool. So traditional media has been disrupted anew. Print really is really badly hit of all the media. Of all traditional media, television right now is seen as a platform for bonding, and for outdoor, it's likewise the same, and also for radio. Radio simply because most of the listening happens during traffic, but right now there's no one traveling as much. And right now for traditional media, it's really a critical time to make important decisions, to pivot and survive. So what are we doing right now? So we're delivering content that is essential and relevant to our audience. It's finding opportunities in the changed market where media consumption behavior is key. A sample of the New York the front page of the New York Times when the fatalities in the U.S. of the COVID-19 was nearing 100, they came up with all the names in the front page, which is really a bold a bold statement of how things are, and it resonated also online and trended worldwide. For Star, we've tried. I think that it really emphasized the importance of being part of a responsible newspaper is being able to provide facts and keeping things at bay regarding the issues surrounding COVID-19. We don't want, we're really concerned over the public behavior that we came out with a COVID-19 page, which is just basically uh, basing all the issues on based on science, because this pandemic is not really over political sentiments or social sentiments. It's really about how things are progressing, and it's based on science, and that's what we're trying to provide with a COVID-19 microsite, by providing things that people can really latch on in terms of trying to keep themselves updated over the development of COVID-19. So this is still ongoing, and another opportunity that we saw is, of course, there was a proliferation of online forums and fora and webinar coming from different industries, different businesses, trying to in all the virtually all communities are really trying to figure out how to go about the business given this major disruption. Business world saw the opportunity where from a macro standpoint that we're able to provide a voice on how the economy is really going by providing a number of online forum that we have started last May, and we've been doing it every week. So those are the samples that what we've been doing, and what's really important is in trying to find opportunities in the change market is really to be sensitive on how people is behaving online based on social listening, and the key things that we coming on being sensitive on how each community is behaving. So there are opportunities right there right now. It's really important for media to really revisit its content, the churn of content that it's capable of producing. Right now, we see a lot of trends. For example, B2B, for example, is right now trying B2C. Opportunities in embracing and promoting the lockdown lifestyle, where consumer confidence in the coming few months until the vaccine will be available until next year, middle of next year. Consumer confidence is not yet there. So right now, there's lots of opportunities in terms of offering solution-driven content with tips, work from home tips, bonding tips, new hobbies, and come up with a very compelling concept. I'd like to cite Cinema One, for example. They were able to come up with a movie shot entirely while all the casts were in lockdown. And then there are also issues about mental health. And right now, we're coming up with an anniversary issue just to help guide everyone with a campaign called In Between, because right now we believe that we're in a transition point where we're caught in this pandemic, and it's really trying to picture what the new normal is. And have we really embraced the new normal? And after the new normal, post-COVID, how can we move forward from here after realizing a lot of things? We're about how things are really important and essential. Those are the keywords that keep surfacing during this time, and the way to move forward really is for a lot of collaboration. The content that you're offering right now will be realized even more if your capacity to make things happen. I was thinking about earlier discussing about the next step for this coming school year, but I think online learning won't be enough. Perhaps just an idea. Probably media can actually offer a more uh, compelling platform to help the students go through the coming school year by um, considering uh, broadcast and newspapers coming together with the current event style of decades before, providing uh, printed lessons that can be distributed to areas where Wi-Fi is very weak. So it's really a huge concern that I feel that a lot of collaboration between the government, the private enterprise, and media can play a role. So, given that example, it's really trying to find opportunities that traditional media in general is where right now, and for us to survive, it's really content that is your savior, because technology enables, but content brings soul to the machine. So that's my presentation.
Yes, thank you so much, Lucien. You know what, Lucien? I think what is, listening to your presentation brings me to this, ito yun sabi ni Philip Kotler you think about Kodak and Fuji, Fujifilm. So these are two brands that were into film, right? But if you take note, Fuji is still around, Kodak is not, okay? Because because Kodak just looked at its business as a ano um ano ba
The film.
film development as against Fuji. It took a look at this business or its purpose as an imaging product, and therefore it it now is leading in the likes of for healthcare, MRI, imaging, etc. So it was able to evolve itself. So parang I think print and if I may say radio ba rin, and the other traditional media are going through this stage of finding its purpose. Parang malalim ang usapan na to. Di ba?
Actually,
Finding its purpose, and therefore how do
I
you
think
build, just like Fuji, what Fuji
uh,
did.
that for us, it really matters that the nice thing about this lockdown, it really focused on how relevant we still are in terms of delivering the physical paper, because before COVID there's always been an argument among publishers whether to continue with the physical paper or just um, was strictly online business enterprise. But for in the case of the Star, the demand for newspapers based on the calls that we've been receiving since the lockdown has been really high. So meaning there's really still um, to the market that it caters to. Um, But what is key right now is our ability to really go through this current challenge, this current crisis that we're experiencing, particularly to the print media, on how to sustain for us until things get into the new normal. And for us, we see it as an opportunity also where this new behavior, there are, as I said in my presentation, there are a lot of opportunities abound.
It's nice to know naman that even in this period when traditional media is being challenged, we still, and that's the heart that we want from everyone. We still see some opportunities. It's really just reframing and looking at things differently to emerge the opportunities. That's a very nice message that you have, and thank you so much for being so candid about what the situation is. We are not in denial of the situation, essentially, is what you're saying. We're facing this head on, and we're trying to figure out how to pivot and deliver the content depending on the needs of the customers. Ang
I
question ko
mean, a
lang,
lot of industries are really. No, I just said that a lot of industries are really suffering at this stage. Whether you're from media or from another industry, it's really trying to understand how things are, even if we're already in this for 4 months, and wish that things get back into normal. We're all eager, but for me, sorry to say, but it's not going to be very soon. But
very soon.
Trying to embrace this and figure out how we can start all over again.
Ang iniisip ko yung paano yung mga nare-reach dati ng newspaper, hard copy, how are they coping now? Is it digital or I don't know? Nagde-digital na rin sila. Ganun ba yun?
Actually, parang ang attitude ko nga, thank God there's digital, because we're still able to deliver news every day, and then we have our e-paper that's available on Press Reader. Our subscribers have shifted to subscribing from there. In the meantime, that we're not able to send some of the copies to their houses, but it's also making us think further how to effectively distribute. Given this experience, how we can find new channels, how to distribute our physical papers better.
I think just to add to Jermaine's question, and this is related to what Mikey was saying earlier, smartphone penetration is high now, it's very high, and devices are cheap. So really, people get their content, get their information from various sources. I think digital is their primary channel right now. And to Lucian's point, their digital assets are the traffic there is high, and so it's nakasanayan mo nang magpasa ng Finstar pero hindi siya tangible. Pero makikita mo pa rin siya dito, and it's still that it goes back now to the brand. It goes now back to the equity of it's still the same
brand purpose.
It's just different delivery.
I strongly believe that the physical paper won't go away because it's a different experience entirely.
Okay, we are going to go over the questions from the audience. Meron dito question on ano ba to? Is this an emerging medium. Okay, there these two new communities are using primarily the transport movers, Lala Move, Grab Food, and Food Panda. This to me is a huge market potential and all through digital means. Question, is this something within the radar of businesses wanting to have a huge market reach? Ang tanong ba niya is this going to be a new medium that will be utilized by our advertisers or business owners?
Well, it's again, from a digital, yeah, because you order online anyway, no? So there's retail space there for brands to place ads and to reach their customers. But I'd go even one step further. The uniforms of these transporters. It's literally, and it's a moving billboard, right? so
May naiisip ako.
so it's really just being very creative, being very open about how to approach your advertising objectives. So yeah, that's
might be. So it might be. It depends on the innovativeness of them. Lala Move, bahala na sila to be innovative and see whether their uniforms or their moving vehicle would be a channel for a new channel or medium. Okay, so yon. Okay. May I ask if from Rivka Nagtalon, may I ask if the transition to digital with emphasis on news channels is temporary given need for updates on the pandemic? Do you see this transition to digital consumption to hold for the next 12 months or if not permanently?
I think it will be permanent. The great realization is the pandemic actually made people realize the legitimate news against the fake news. And I think the learning from here is really there's more discernment in the way information is now disseminated on your news feed. And that's to the advantage also of all media providers alike. And that the importance of news at this point is really important. So we really hold a huge responsibility to try to keep the public well informed. Everybody's sober about issues by providing the right perspectives and the right point of views coming from different sources. So I think it's here to stay. The consumption of news is made people realize how much it is an advantage for you to be well informed.
It's end of the day, it's really news is from credible sources. It's really just making facts matter, no? And in given the proliferation of fake news, but yeah, people are learning. People are becoming more discerning. It's here to stay. And I believe everybody naman when you wake up you want makikibalita ka muna, diba? You want to understand what's happening, what kind of world you're waking up to right now, right? So that
actually yung nag-evolve right now, Jermaine and Ona, especially on bashing, what I observed is people are not really ready to jump on an issue by bullying someone. It's really trying to understand the context of how that happened.
Natututo na.
Before, yeah, so parang may progression din how things are, people are reacting online. So that's something encouraging also, that people are really trying to understand issues more.
We're learning in fact, in line with that, there's this question about rampant fake accounts on social media. What's your take on this? From a learning standpoint, from a content standpoint ba yan? Or from a, I'm trying to figure out ano yung, from the media angle, is it pag may fake accounts, nadadagdag yung number of eyeballs? Sorry, what's your take on that?
Ako, I've been wanting to raise this with Facebook because you know, a lot of our media columnists, writers and columnists, actually nagkakaroon sila ng mga fake accounts. Some posters, worse pa, ano, binablock pa sila. Even if they find out who the source is, binablock pa sila. Yun. Yun nga, tataka nga ako, wala ako eh.
Left out ba?
Masyado ka na kilala para gumawa ng fake account. Yes. Before we proceed, a few more minutes, ladies and gentlemen. I know we're beyond the 1.5 hours, but you know, we're covering a lot as mentioned earlier. Allow me to finish lang a few more questions here. In the meantime, please feel free to do to go through our evaluation form, okay, as we also answer some of the questions here. Just going back, my only other comment or input dun sa news, if it's here to stay, yung news habit. From a psychology research standpoint, it was mentioned that you need only 21 days to form a habit, to learn a habit, and around 69 days or so to really embed it in your life. And also, if this continues to the point of Lucien and Onat, you know, news, hopefully news, wanting to see the news and wanting to learn from the news will be here to stay. Okay. All right. Our media experts from Miami, Rose Suarez, are media experts in group companies, organizations willing to help the government if the latter asks for help? Let's say in printing modules for schools. Ito yung sinasabi mo, Lucien, no?
Yeah.
Oo.
I think naman the private sector has proven throughout this pandemic that, you know, if the government asks for help, the private sector has always been there to carry out that call. So it all depends on what the request is, how soon, because you know it's also a question of logistics and resources on the part of the private sector also. But I think from a desire to help, it is there. It is very much alive.
Okay.
I just wish that government could be agile enough, learn from our industry.
Pivot.
In trying to pivot and, you know, recognize critical issues such as the next school year, and how, you know, our economy actually has a large chunk of MSMEs, and right now they're really paralyzed and affected by this pandemic, and the state of how the cases are progressing, we might be forced for another ECQ, and that could spell another disaster and doom for MSMEs. I just hope that you know, somebody can make a sweeping move to really address our e-commerce capability, because this will really help our smaller businesses to move forward. And given how things are developing, that there's heightened consumption of local goods, sayang lang na there are several MSMEs out there who can actually take advantage of the e-commerce platform. Now that everybody's still at home, for sure, magsasawa tayo sa bihis bahay, and we'd be wanting to buy newer clothes, just to make us feel good while we're at home. Find where to source them. Order and safe, and it's kind of for the long haul. Sana lang may e-commerce platform in place, an effective e-commerce platform.
Oh, yes. Okay. A few more questions. To all panelists, the fashion industry is one of the most disrupted business in this pandemic. How can digital media help this industry to bounce back or move forward, whatever is favorable, since the trend now is more on embracing the basics? May role ba ang digital? Paano ba?
Well, I think it got hit simply because we couldn't get out.
Yeah, and we're all in house clothes all the time.
Diba? So I think, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why we wanted to move to a GCQ level. It's more economic. The reason is more economic. So, well, it's tough. I will be very blunt. Fashion, tourism, the airlines, these huge industries really got hit. But like what Lucian was saying earlier, it's either you just wait it out, or then you try to pivot. Now, in the case, for example, of fashion, because that was a question, maybe then e-commerce should come in, right? So, do I need? I don't need to go to the brick and mortar store if it can come to me. So now, what is the digital experience like when I go to their sites? When I go to their, so can I look at the clothes? Because like what Lucian said, yeah, people will still want to feel good. So I will still want to buy clothes. I'll probably not buy 3. I'll just probably buy 1. But it's still a purchase. It's still a transaction. And I think it's really enriching now that's for industries like fashion. It's really enhancing your assets, your digital assets. And then for me talaga, it's a lot of these clothing brands, you have your membership cards, right? You have your discount cards, and you have a database. You can clean up that database now, and then engage with your consumer base, and see, figure out a way to keep your business agile and moving.
Question, I think it's also a brand question. Like I saw a Japanese brand, I do believe, that it has already adopted to the work from home. Kasi like the top is like a, what do you call, for the guys, yung may collar, yung top niya parang business, pero yung bottom, sweatshirt. So, so they're already adopting their design to accommodate the work from home mode. Okay, so a few more. Our audience is sabi nga dito, this webinar is really very interesting. Thank you, Miami. Thanks for the love. Okay. And then here, before buses, I think there's also an OOH. Can I ask an OOH question to you guys? Before, buses carry a lot of advertisements, but this was prohibited. Not sure about it, but ads were reduced in buses. Now with, ayun na nga, Lala Move become now a moving billboard. I think this was answered earlier. Meron isang OOH dito na question. Here. as the people are slowly trying to get back to normal life, it seems like road traffic is slowly getting back to its usual state, or possibly worse. Can OOH advertising be considered as an effective platform as well behind digital?
For me, as long as there's traffic, yes. And I think there it will be traffic because public transport might be an issue since the public won't be generally confident, and those who are capable of purchasing uh, entry level cars or motorcycles will do so. Um, so I think in the coming months probably when it's really GCQ, it's really safe enough for us to be consistently GCQ. The traffic will be there, so we just have for OOH. I think we just really have to wait it out right now, and think OOH will definitely bounce back.
I think for me, my take on OOH is they need to pivot. They need to upgrade from from static to dynamic. It's basically it. My my point is, traffic. Yes, traffic is there, but the question is, where are people? Where are the eyeballs? They're not on the billboards. They're on the phones, right? They're on smaller screens. So the challenge is really how do you get share of eyes vision on so if it's a moving image, if it's an LED, and you can it becomes a landmark, it becomes iconic, then I think OH will become more effective and more relevant, because that's a lot of there are different sides to it, no? But yun siya, it's still my question is still I'm not looking at the billboard. I see the billboard, but I'm not looking at it. I'm paying attention. I'm more engaged with my phone, and I think majority that's true.
Onat, there's a talking about the collaboration that Lucien mentioned earlier. There's a solution there. I've seen abroad na pag nagpass ang kotse mo near a certain radius from the billboard, there's that messaging and talking between the billboard and your smartphone. May papasok na advertisement sa'yo. So I think it's all about innovation and how creative and how agile our OOH companies will adapt, no? Okay.
The way I see OOH, to really progress, they really have to consider content.
Content, yes. O kaya pwede naman din na for those brands, the branding lang naman ang kailangan. Mabilis lang yan. So even if there's no traffic, branding, kikita na kagad. Pero hindi, it's all about, yes, content. Whether or not I'm moving, the message should be delivered right away. So,
for any OOH out there, you can talk to us.
Diba? Oh my goodness! I enjoyed this conversations. Next time kailangan may kapihan siguro. Media is so much interesting a topic, no, and it is still evolving as we continue with this quarantine period. So I really enjoyed this, and I'd like to thank our panelists today. It's almost 2 hours, and yet parang fresh pa tayo, no? So for those who would like to answer pa our evaluation survey, please feel free to continue. So thank you so much for all the heartening comments that I saw in the chat, and thank you so much for your time, Onat, Lucien. My gosh, 2 hours passed and we're still, we want to discuss further. So I'd like to thank you for your time, your precious, precious time, and you spent this with us today. So before we end, I'd like to thank again our partners, Future Proof, Philippine Star, This is World, Marketing in Asia, IMAP, PMA, and PANA. So as I end this session today, would like to borrow a quote from Albert Einstein, who said, "In the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity." The media industry is facing changes and challenges, but there are also a lot of opportunities to harness, as discussed in this e-panel. We hope that with the insights gleaned from our e-panelists today, these could help us plot our programs and efforts for our companies to move ahead. Let's not wait for the pandemic to subside. Let's consider media as our partner in reaching our customers during this hashtag business not usual situation. So thank you once again to our dear, dear e-panelists, Mr. Onat Roldan, yay!
Thank you very much.
Mr. Lucien Ditioka, yay! And Mr. Michael De Castro, who lovingly prepared for this presentation. Thank you everyone for joining us in our e-panel webinar. Join us again, and please check our announcements for our next e-panel and trainings. We will be posting our trainings soon. Again, this is Jermaine Reyes, CEO and President of Synergy Market Research plus Strategic Consultancy, saying, have a good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us. And bye-bye. We'll see you again. Thank you.